And mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo. What's the deal, everyone? What's the deal? What is the deal? Welcome, everyone, for tuning in to another dope episode of Chill Will Radio. Man, it feels good to be back, and it is cold. It's been cold all week. Man, and I don't like this shit. I don't like it at all. We California, and California ain't too good, man. I got homeboys that live back east, and they've been sending me text messages talking about, man, they laughing at me because I'm complaining that it's 50 degrees and that it's like in its low 60s. I think at night it's been like 40-something. We ain't used to this out here. We not used to this out here. But as always, man, to all those individuals who are listening, good looking. To those individuals who are going to be tuning in tomorrow, the day after, next week, next year, next lifetime, whenever you get the chance, whether you on the toilet listening to this, good looking to you too, man. And even more so to those individuals who probably will never listen to this ever because they don't believe mental health is really that important. It sucks to say, but there's still a few people out here who think certain things are kind of just BS, So all those individuals who aren't paying attention to their mental health in some form of aspect, good looking to you too, man, because you probably haven't caught on yet, but you will catch on eventually, man. Shoot. How's my week been? How are things going for me so far, man? The year is coming to an end. It's the first day of December. It's December 1st. The last month of the year. This year is over. I feel like this year went by not too fast, not too slow. Went by, just right. This is the last month of a decade. We're about to start a new decade at the top of the year, man. And it feels good. It really feels good to actually be living this far. Right, my week has been fine. Nothing exciting, nothing crazy. The only thing that's kind of I have to be a little bit more mindful of is, and I've said this multiple times, but I work in, hospitals. I work in more than one hospital, and the one thing about working in hospitals is you get a sense when it comes to death, when it comes to seeing death and hearing that people have died and seeing dead bodies and communicating with families and telling people that, such and such has died. And in a hospital, we like to use the word expired. Such and such expired at 1,300 hours, you become numb to that feeling. And I don't really know if that's good or not, but what really shocks me and what really kind of forced me to be a little bit more mindful in my reaction with people and just in my reaction with everything is a lot of these people in these hospitals, some of them don't have insurance and things like that, but a lot of them don't have family. And a lot of them are coming to the hospital with nobody to put on their emergency contact. A lot of them are coming to the hospital with no type of support. It doesn't have to be financial support, just nobody to even call and say, yo, I'm here in the hospital. There's a lot of people out here like that. And the one thing that I came face to face with yesterday while I was at work, was there was an individual, when there's somebody dies in my hospital, there's a code blue. Code blue means the patient is on its way out the door where, resuscitating the patient or whatnot. But there was a code blue on this patient, and this patient ended up dying because they had a heart attack. The one thing that got me about this particular situation is that when I spoke with the doctor, when I spoke with the nurse, I needed to call someone to inform the family that, hey, you know, XYZ had passed away. There was literally nobody there. Nobody I could call. I went back into this patient's medical records all the way dating back to 1997. Nobody to be found, right? All the way to 1997. This is 2019. Nobody to be found. Patient has literally been putting nobody on their emergency contact since 1997. That made me not sick, but like I felt some type of way about it. I slightly got irritated because it's when we pass on, we want to be able to let someone know that, hey, my life is ending, or we want someone there. But what happens to that person's body when it's just kind of like, oh, you're just dead? You know, does your life matter when you just die and nobody's able to come around? Did your life matter when when a hospital doesn't have anybody to call on to let you know that that person has died? That person, you know, passed on or expired, as we say at the hospital. The one thing that I want everyone to kind of be mindful of and be grateful for, and this is kind of going into the self-care piece, but the one thing I want everyone to be mindful for and grateful of and just protect is protect those people that are there for you, right? Protect those people in your life that are there for you, because you're never really going to know when you need them. Not even on some financial reasons, not even just to go have fun, but just you never know when you just need their company. Right? See, sometimes their company means more than the words that they can say. Sometimes the company means more than any type of dollar, any amount that somebody could offer. The company sometimes is what's most important. And when we don't have someone to just provide something as little as company, something as little as time to spend with me in my dying days, it's sad, right? So to everyone, I just wanna challenge everyone to not be grateful for those individuals who are there for you, but to protect those individuals who are there for you. And I mean that in a way of protect that relationship. If something goes left within that relationship, make sure you're able to get it back on the right path. Because there are many times in which we go left within our relationships with people. We have arguments with families and friends and things of those sorts, and we never get it back right. Right? And then we don't know what's going to happen next. Somebody could have, like, God forbid, I could have a random heart attack right now, and it'll be it. Right? We don't know which way it's going to go. So protect those individuals who mean something to you right now. Because within certain times, all you're going to need and all you're going to be able to appreciate is their company. Gaining somebody's company, somebody that is willing to provide you their company or their time, man, we need to be grateful for that all the time. Because it's not too many people that's willing to give that up, especially, you know, when we're in our last days. So that's kind of my little check-in or whatever. But moving on forward into the self-care piece, and which is why I believe that was a nice little segue into the self-care piece, right? The one thing everybody was doing for the few days ago, Thursday on Thanksgiving, everybody be grateful, right? Be thankful, be grateful, show gratitude and things like that. And the one thing I noticed this year, and this happens every year, but this is the first time I ever noticed this, is that we treat gratitude like it's something that needs to just be checked up off of the list, right? It's not really genuine because it's something that we kind of push once a year, which is Thanksgiving. Give thanks for all of these people, right? It's not something that we really kind of push within our life, right? It's not something we're really mindful of, right? So the one thing that I encourage everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, right, is to be mindfully grateful, right? Mindfully show gratitude, right? A lot of times what we do is, for example, we say thank you. Sometimes saying thank you could just be a habitual thing, right? I know a lot of folks said thank you towards, even when they're pissed, right? Somebody probably did something, thank you, whatever. They don't mean that thank you, right? Somebody probably had you say, you probably said thank you just to move along, or just to shut somebody up, right? When we don't really mean a situation, right? Sometimes we say thank you in stressful situations. Sometimes we say thank you in situations in which we're a little bit irritable. Sometimes we say thank you just because, right? The one thing that I challenge a lot of people when it comes to things such as saying thankful, when you do notice yourself saying thankful, instead of just saying it and skating on by, instead of just saying it as a habitual thing, as just because it's something to do, the moment you say thank you, or the moment you become aware of a certain point or of an interaction in which you're going to say thank you, pause for a little bit, right? Ask yourself, what am I saying thank you for? Why am I saying thank you? Does this deserve a thank you? Right? Do those sorts of things, because we don't want to create habitual habits when it comes to showing gratitude. We don't want gratitude to become just a list maker. I mean, just something that we check off our list once a year. Right? That goes back into what I was saying in terms of protecting those individuals who are around you, protecting those relationships. The one way you're going to be able to protect those relationships is to show gratitude, but not just show gratitude for saying that, oh, I'm thankful for, my girl, or I'm thankful for my boy Akilo, or I'm thankful for my boy Didier. Not just, but how are you showing it? How are you showing it, and why are you showing it? That's the thing. That's the thing. We forget about that why. We don't really know the answer to that why. That why forces us to chill out and kind of answer it. Why are you saying thank you? Why does this person deserve your gratitude? Why does this person deserve, those sorts of things from you? Why? Right? Let me not just say I'm thankful for this next person that's next to me. Let me say I'm thankful for this next person to me. Let me say why, and let me actually feel some of the things and reflect on the memories that me and that person have had in the past. The memories that we are presently having, and the memories that are soon to come. Right? So be thankful, yes. Show gratitude, yes. But mindfully do these things. One of the ways that can do that, like I just said, whenever you feel like you're going to say thank you, take a quick second. Doesn't have to be 5, 10, 20, 30. Don't have to be that long. Take a quick second and just, okay, I see why I'm saying thankful, and why I'm saying thank you, and this is where it's at, right? Or if you want, you can write certain things down, right? What are you thankful for throughout the day, right? Whether it's in that morning, whether it's in that afternoon, whether it's, later that evening, right? But just find ways to mindfully show gratitude. So that's the one thing that I want everybody to implement within their self-care piece, right? Figure out ways to mindfully show gratitude towards the people that you are around, and even towards anything that happens throughout the day. Let me just be thankful that I ain't get into this car accident when someone just cut me off, because it could have been bad, right? Even towards the little things, because there are a lot of things that go on in which God kind of blesses us, and we don't acknowledge those quick, small, minute, little blessings that could have happened. I mean, that did happen, such as not getting in a car accident, such as not swerving, such as not hitting one of them. Damn, I hate people who ride bicycles on the street, but not hitting one of the people who ride the bicycles on the street, right? Be mindful of those quick little blessings, right? And be thankful for those small little things, but mindfully soak it in, be present with them. Those are the things that I want everyone to implement. So the one thing I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, find ways to mindfully show gratitude. All right? So, moving on forward into the main topic of the show. My boy is back for round 4.
We back at number 4, man.
The first one was church.
Yeah, it was black. What does black health look like in the black church? So mental health in the black church. And then
second was fatherhood.
Third one was grief.
This is round 4.
This is round 4.
Akila, what's the deal, player?
Man, what's going on, my boy? Chill, Will Willis, what's good, bro?
Man, thank you for coming through at the last minute, man. I had somebody that had canceled out on me, and I really wanted to do this episode with someone instead of just doing it by myself. Because I could have done it by myself, but it was like, there are certain episodes or certain topics that I believe, I need to do it with someone. And
right.
I didn't want to just abruptly, because I could have changed the whole thing. I didn't want to just abruptly change it, but let me reach out to certain people. So I appreciate you for actually coming through last minute, man, and bringing a little one in the back who back there drooling.
Y'all know I got a lot of kids. My number 5, she in the back knocked out. I'm mad because I didn't want her to go to sleep, but it's a good thing she could sleep because she'd be all in this interview right now.
Hey, give me that.
Yeah, asking Daddy with her finger in her mouth. What's that? What's that? Asking 1,000 questions, man. But I appreciate you having me, man.
Man, how are you feeling, man?
I'm doing okay, man. I think when you hit me when you asked me, I immediately said, yeah, I didn't even know what you was going to ask me it was, because I was, I love coming to see you. I love podcasting. I love, being able to speak my mind outside of the pulpit, and everybody doesn't look at me a certain way. So coming to this, man, and when you hit me with the topic, I'm like, self-reflection. I'm like, whoa. That's looking in the mirror, That's telling yourself, like, okay, I got to start working on this, and that. And I think it had to, because I was right out after church. It had to be God moving, because we talked about mental health in the Black church and what does that look like, and getting help and resources and things like that. Then I was back on here for a segment for fatherhood, what it means to be a young Black father, the mental health pieces that we struggle with. Then right after that, grief, and me and you and most young African American men in the city and in LA or in urban contemporary geographical locations, we struggle with grief. Because of death, because of not being able to process feelings. I think that now self-reflecting, now is the time to look back and see how far we've come, but also how much further we need to go. And so I was very excited, man, to get here and just to be able to hear what you want to talk about self-reflection, man.
I appreciate that, man. And before we even really dive into the show and to the topic, one of the things I just want to thank Akila for is he has, and it's probably super early, but oh well, I don't care.
Come on.
He invited me to his play. And I ain't gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be bullshit.
He thought, hey y'all, he thought love was gonna be whack,
like,
man.
Because
he thought it was gonna be whack.
I've been to a play before, and it was too long.
It's too long.
The intermission was like 45 minutes.
45-minute intermission.
And then the whole sessions or whatever was like 2 hours apiece, and
Ooh.
it was
2 hour scenes.
It was boring. I was going to sleep.
Play.
I was so I ain't gonna lie. I was like,
I'm just going to support my bro. I know. I appreciate it.
Pretty much is exactly what it is. But I ain't gonna lie, man. I was surprised.
Hold on. Let me flip this.
I was
so everybody can hear what you're saying.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I was surprised in terms of how good the actual show was. Not even just more so on the certain meanings and the topics that were shown throughout the show, but just the engaging part of it. Like, it was dope, and it has a lot of underlying meanings that for me is stuck and it hit. But I'm gonna leave that up to you and the audience to really go watch and go see on your own.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly appreciate you, man, for inviting me out. That shit was really dope. For real.
Well, you guys heard it from Chill Will Radio. He was let me just make it quick. I invited my boy Willis Clips. You guys know I do stage plays with Sam 7 Productions. Shout out to Leon Anderson, Josh James Media. We in the trenches, man, and we did Love, L-O-V-E, Love, Leaning on Various Emotions for like the 8th time, and we took it in the Bellflower Auditorium, October 25th, sold out show. And he just said that he wasn't expecting how much he was blessed by the show, man, from the little minute things to the major things. So I think we're getting ready. We're going to Atlanta. Shout out, we're going to Atlanta, ATL. So we have one more show, LA. All Chill Wheels listeners, man, we got one more show in LA. It's February 15th, Valentine's Day weekend. So if you don't have anything to do, please come out and support. Matter of fact, if you get your tickets right now, they are 50% off general admission. And so we're doing it one last time, the absolute last time in LA. LOVE, Leaning on Various, Sam 7 Productions, Leon Anderson's LOVE, Leaning on Various Emotions. It's a hit stage play. We've sold out every show. So if you don't have your tickets, the link is in my Instagram bio, Preach Keela, the number 2G. Man, y'all come out and support. You heard it from the man himself. How
she was actually dope.
The show was dope. He loved the show. So, man, if you ain't got your tickets, get your tickets right now. They're 50% off. LOVE, Sam 7 Productions. Shout out Leon Anderson. Shout out Josh Media. You know what it is, man. I appreciate you, man, coming on for real.
But like I said, appreciate you for inviting me out to that thing. But going in and just moving on forward into the whole aspect of self-reflecting and things of those sorts. The reason why I wanted to do that topic today is tomorrow's my birthday and I turn 28.
Ooh. Well, it's getting old.
Why did I just forget for like 2 seconds? Tomorrow's my birthday, right?
December 2nd.
December 2nd, 28. I remember how old I am. 28. I was born 1991, right?
Okay.
Tomorrow I turn 28.
Happy birthday,
tomorrow,
man.
Thank you.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Tomorrow I turn 28. And the one thing that I kind of always do, not even just with my birthday, but with a lot of things in life, is I downplay everything. Right? Everything, whether it's, how do I feel about this person, or how do I feel about, you know, this event that I went to, or how do I feel about, you know, hanging out with my girl, hanging out with my homeboy. You know, I downplay everything. And the reason why I downplay everything is because it allows me to not really. The reason why I downplay everything, it allows me to kind of get away from my true feelings when it comes to certain situations.
Okay.
Right? And we spoke about this. I believe we spoke about this before as well, in terms of how we us as men we kind of run away from our feelings sometimes. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's kind of like every feeling, right? Every feeling, which is why I guess I'm so chill. I'm just chill by nature.
Yeah.
But just in a lot of things in general, I just downplay everything because it's like, I don't feel like, you know, explaining or whatever. So it was cool. It was straight. It was good. It was a typical thing. And for me, I've had to ask myself, why do I downplay everything? Mm-hmm. And once I started to get into, you know, the reasons behind those things, I started to really reflect on, you know, how I got to this point, the things in my life, the things that were going on. On one side, that caused me to be a little bit grateful. But on another side, that caused me to be a tad bit resentful, right? A tad bit resentful at certain, to be quite honest, certain people.
Okay.
A tad bit resentful at myself, because when you're reflecting, not just reflecting on the good things, but also reflecting on the bad things, reflecting on the mistakes that you've made within your life, you begin to go through certain feelings, right? Mm-hmm. Certain doors are kind of opening back up, because what happens with a lot of us, even though doors close, even though we close the door on certain chapters, we don't really end that chapter.
Okay.
Right? So sometimes when you're truly self-reflecting, truly going back on certain things, whether it's reflecting on certain relationships or reflecting on, you know, certain mistakes that you've made, or reflecting on what you've done positive or what you've done negative, mm-hmm. that door that you once closed when it comes to that negative person could be open back up. And that's going to cause certain feelings to resurface. So once I started to reflect on these things, and once I started to notice certain feelings resurfacing, I began to get a tad bit resentful. And I did not like that feeling, only because you think everybody says time heals wounds, and that's not necessarily true. Like, pretty much at all. Like, that's not necessarily true on many levels. Time doesn't really heal wounds. Time puts a blanket over those wounds, right? Time puts a Band-Aid over those wounds, right? And those wounds aren't never really healed. The only thing that heals wounds is the attention that you're giving to it. So when I began this, when I was self-reflecting probably a few nights ago, when I was at home, I began to fully kind of soak in a lot of the negative things that I've done in my life, without trying to just run away from it. And it's important when it comes to self-reflection that we all do that, right? When we're opening up those doors that we never really, when we're opening up those doors that's a pathway to the wounds that we never really healed, that we've always just stayed away from, that we kind of just let go. When we come face to face with that thing, it's important that we all, everyone who's listening, and even the people in this room, it's important that we're honest about those wounds, but at the same token, we don't just close the door back on it and just think it's just going to magically go away.
Okay.
Because it's never really going to go away. The door is just going to be shut until there's something in life that's going to open it back up, or you're going to open it back up. But when it is open back up, take the time to just fully feel those feelings that are coming with that wound that you just opened up. And for me, there were a few things that I've had to just accept. And when it comes to acceptance, when it comes to radical acceptance, it's a very tough thing, because you're not just accepting the good things, but you're also accepting your fuck ups. You also may be accepting that when it comes to this certain relationship, like, fuck that up. Like, there are relationships that I've had in my life that I just fucked up that would never be the same. Like, it is what it is, and you know, you just gotta chuck it up and be like, hey, you know. But it's important that you move forward from that. So, which is why I believe, this topic right now, and why I felt as if I needed someone to speak to her on this topic, is because I didn't want to reflect to the mirror, because that's what it kind of would have been like if no one was here. I wanted to reflect with someone and kind of bounce certain things off. So, good looking for coming through, my man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Man, when you said that, you automatically think about self-reflection, looking in the mirror and having to look at all your imperfections, all your impurities, and what you have done, what you wanted to do, what you could have did, what you should have did. And I think sometimes self-reflection does need to be with another person, because we gonna always try to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. But if you have a true friend across the room, they gonna still hold you accountable. And you a therapist, so you know how it can go. But because we boys, you gonna be like, yeah, Keela, the medical term is this, and that. But nah, Negro, you messing up, dog. You need to get it together. And I think with self-reflection, man, I think that is the hardest thing to do, because when you self-reflect, it's like a rush of everything, your entire life, all at once. So people say that my whole life flashed before my eyes. The moment you start self-reflecting, you start thinking about what you could have did differently in middle school, that relationship in high school. Like, man, I should have not went to that party in college, or I should have stayed up, or I should have majored in this. Everybody hate Kanye right now. Well, some people hate him, some people love him, but that majored in that he makes don't make no money. So now you just it's like a rush and anxiety. And I think that's the scary part of self-reflection, because it causes anxiety, because you actually have no control over the past. Yeah. Because that's all you're thinking about. Yeah. You can't self-reflect on the future. You self-reflect on what has already passed. Yep. So it's like, dang, I should have. But I think also it's a positive piece to it too. Because now you get to see how you can improve. How you can be. I learned this from Tavis Smiley years ago when I was like a freshman in high school. He said, I never want to be the best. I always want to be better. Because if I'm the best, I can't never get any better. Yeah, for real. So I want to continue to get better. And like, you turning 28 tomorrow, man. I'm 28. I'll be 29 in January. But it's something that my mentor, Dwight Trimble, always tells me every time I see him. He calls me by my family nickname. He says, Nook, man, you still young. And he'd be like, man, you're not even 30 yet. And I'm be thinking like,
they don't feel like it, though.
They don't feel like it. Whether it's having all the kids and all the life experience I have, but I'm like, man, and when you think about it, like, man, I ain't even 30 yet. And so for him, or people like him in his tax bracket or whatever, they really are still living their best lives, and they 60. And so they downplay it, but man, I'm thinking like, bro, I got pressure, and I'm only 28. Yeah. I got to try to figure this out before I'm 30, which is good. But I think self-reflection is on the good side and the bad side. And the negative side will be the anxiety it causes for the mistakes you've made and what you want to do and what you should have done. And, it's that time of the year where people are now coming home. You're like, man, I should have made this move. It's wintertime. Like, even me, I went to Atlanta, and by God's grace, I had a little extra funds to buy my kids clothes. Like, we don't go Christmas shopping no more. Like, man, we're going to get y'all some clothes and shoes. Yeah. But I had to reflect, like, man, if I didn't make this move, I probably would have had to do this, to do that, and it causes an anxiety, and it makes you can get real depressed real fast.
Oh, yeah, for real.
Real fast. You be like, ooh.
Because those are those wounds and those doors that you open up that you realize you never really healed. It's like if you break up from an ex and then you think you over your ex and then you see a random ass picture of her and now you sick. Like, oh, my God, you dating such and such.
Especially when you be like, dang, he got a lot going on for himself. You be like, he got a little bit more money. I mean, he ain't nobody cuter than me, but he got some dollars on me. I'm like, okay.
Or even when the guy's like ugly and probably ain't got no more money yet, whatever, you still like, damn, it's a reminder that she ain't with you no more. Yeah. It's because of those things that you've done with the relationship. You've never really healed, and you've never really atoned for the things that, or the, I don't want to say sins that you've done, but right. The mistakes that you've made.
I think when you ask me about self-reflection, I just look at the last year, man. I had my first real grief tragedy with my grandmother passing, and then right after that I got into a car accident. Yeah. I almost lost my life, my son's life, my dad, my sister. We were all in a car, and then I had to go through the physical recovery of that, and then now I'm still trying to start the grieving process, which causes all this PTSD and anxiety all at once, right? And so I'm reflecting like, wow, when I was driving on the way here, I'm thinking like, man, what could I have done better just a few months ago Like, it doesn't even have to be last year, but just within the last 2 months, what could I have done better to be better moving forward?
Why do you feel like you could have done anything better?
I think I should have been a little bit more optimistic on really getting help.
No. What do you feel like you could have done better on?
Oh,
why do you feel like you could have done better?
Because I'm in a constant state, like you say self-reflection, but I'm in a constant state of that because I have children. So my kids are always reminding me of what I said, or what you told me this, but no, you said you was gonna do this, or you get what I'm saying. I'm always constantly in a constant battle of trying to be better because I have people looking up to me, and any mess up or any wrong turn or wrong word, now it's like I didn't. Not only am I affecting myself, I'm affecting the kids. Yeah. So like that's scary to me. It causes anxiety. So I'm always on the fritz. So how to be better, and how can I do this, and how can I do that? My oldest, my 6-year-old, and I'm not gonna say exactly what she asked me, but she asked me a cold question a couple weeks ago, like in the car, and I'm driving, taking her to school, and she said, "Daddy, why did you do this?" She's 6. I was like, I had to pull over and tell her the truth. But now I realize that, man, maybe I should have made this better change or better choice to not be having this type of conversation with my 6-year-old daughter, because it was major for me. I'm not going to say it publicly because I don't want people all in my business. I'll tell you offline, but it was one of those things like, man, I had to really sit back like, wow, I really did that. And this is the consequence for that action. Now, what can I do now to not have to repeat this same cycle? And like you said earlier, those old wounds, you said time doesn't heal, or time doesn't heal your wounds. It's like a blanket over it. I would absolutely have to agree, because you realize, like even with grief, people can be in grief for 20, 30, 40 years.
For real.
You're like, man, you still missing this person. You get what I'm saying? Like even with the city with losing Nip. Bro, it ain't even been a year, and people they feel like they're in a space like, man, we just lost him yesterday. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? And so I think when people say time heals all wounds, it might even heal the wound, like the scab might appear over it, and the scab might heal and fall off, but you're going to always remember that scar.
Exactly.
You're going to always, you got stitches and they stitched it up, but you're going to always remember that stitch. Like, it's going to take you back to what you could have done better to not even get this scar in the first place. Yeah. So I absolutely agree with you saying that, time heals all wounds. No. It might heal it, but you ain't going to never forget it. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? You're going to always have that thing in the back of your head like, man, maybe I should have did this. Maybe I should have did that. Like, dang, maybe I should have made this move. And it'd be like you said, on small stuff.
And that's the thing. I think time allows people to forget about the situation. But just because you forget about something, that doesn't mean that the feeling attached to it had left. It's like
the feeling attached to it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, when we're breaking up with someone, or it's with a girl, right? Time is going to allow us to get through that breakup, because we're going to forget about that individual. Okay. We're going to forget about the feelings that we have that are attached to that person, because it's just going to kind of die out, because that person isn't around or in our face anymore. So we're just gonna forget about them. Forgetting about certain things is productive, effective when we need to kind of get from point A to point B really quickly and things of those sorts. But it's not going to allow us to get to the end result, which is fully being not over it, but fully accepting it. I don't want to say over anything, because to me there's a negative connotation that comes with that. But just accepting that, grandmother passed, or accepting that I got into this car accident, accepting that I cheated on my girl or my boyfriend, now the relationship is trash, right. Accepting that, I'm a bad father or a bad mother. Just accepting those things, because you can't change what's in the past, and a lot of us, we fight with the fact that we can't change the mistakes. Right. It's like with the question that your little one had asked you, why did you do this? And it's like, yeah, let me break it down to you why I did this. But also let me break it down to myself, what can I do to make sure this doesn't happen? But also give yourself the ability to just be okay with the decision that you made at that moment. Because Didier said this in here like months ago. I believe when he was talking about his father, he was talking about that it's hard for him to truly be mad at his father, because his father did the best he could do with everything that he knew and everything that he had at the moment. Something to that extent. But at that moment, you're doing the best you can do with what you have. At that moment, you can only go so far because of how you don't know what's right. You don't know what's wrong. You only know what's at that point. You know, and at that point, do what's best. And will your best be the best? Sometimes it won't. But within that moment, let's not when we're reflecting on things, let's not beat ourselves up for the mistakes that we've done in the past, because at that moment we thought that was right. Within that small second,
window a second,
right? That small second, we thought that moment was the right thing, not for the other person, but it was the right thing for us. Cheating on my girl may be wrong on the grand scheme of things, but in that moment, that feeling is the right thing, and it's what I needed for me, you know. So at that moment, you did the best that you could.
My dad always tells me, you know, he's in whatever the situations he's been through, he now accepts where he is.
Yeah.
Whether he's over it or not, I don't know, but he accepts where he is.
Yeah.
Like every time I talk to him, he's like, man, I'm just grateful. I'm thankful that I'm able to even say I'm here. My pastor was preaching on it on Thursday morning. Like, I'm just thankful. Like, I got to accept what I've done. I got to accept the consequences that are to come. But I have to accept where I am right here, right now, because nobody has the ability to go back. Nobody has the ability to change. But you have the ability to prevent future. That's crazy to me that you can't change the past, but you can alter the future, because somebody might think you're going one way, but you have the ability in that present moment. You see Terminator.
Exactly.
So he was supposed to do all this was supposed to happen, but in that present moment, you're able to change your entire circumstance.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? That's crazy to me that something that small can really shift the paradigm of what you think is okay or what you think is acceptance. And I think we struggle with acceptance because of the pressures we have around us. Our gates are always open to, like I think I said in here before, I struggle around graduation time. May, April, May, June is, everybody graduating, flying, everybody Greek and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I was supposed to. You know what I'm saying? But then I also understand, like my best friend Jatier, she just got married. And my other friend Tana, they got married. But I was so happy for them too. Like, I'm like, man, I could have did things different in my previous marriage. But now looking at this, I'm like, man, I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
I accept that I'm okay, I might not be getting married anytime soon, but I'm happy for that person over there because I'm accepting the fact that could have been me. It's supposed to have been me. I should have been living my life as such, but that's not me where I am.
Yeah.
And I never know what that other person has that I might have that they don't have, but I have. You get what I'm saying? I have a lot of kids. It's people who can't have kids.
Yeah, for real.
Are trying to and can't afford the operations or can't afford the infertilations, but I got a tribe over here. Yeah. So here I am, not accepting the fact that I am a father of multiple children. And it's somebody probably around the corner from my house praying to God, or just praying that the finances come, or praying that they get pregnant. You get what I'm saying? And so that self-reflection has to like, it's like an internal indictment on yourself. Like, now you got to look within yourself to say, what can I do to get better? But also, when can I start the process to accept what I've done? I want to get better, but I need to start the process to get better for what I've done. Because that's you said that earlier. This is a constant process. Yeah. You have to continually to go through this thing. Nobody's going to get this overnight or tomorrow. Every time I talk to somebody, they say it took years for them to get where they are, because they are and they're still in the process of processing. Yeah. To be in the process of processing, that's deep to me. Because I'm constantly in a state of change. I'm constantly in a state of motion. I'm constantly trying to adapt and be better. And I took a whole different way to get to the studio this time. Okay, this is a different way. Another way to get here. It's another way. And I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly learning back streets. I'm constantly learning what lights take longer, so I should take this way. Because I'm constantly knowing what the police stuff like that. You're like, okay, now I'm in a. But if you stay stagnant, that's when stuff start hitting. Depression. Yeah. That's when you start. People get so depressed they don't want to get out of bed because they're not. It's scary to process, yes, but it's worth it. because now you're living.
And I really, really like when you said the process of processing, or being in the process of processing, something like that.
I'm now in a state of I'm in a state of processing to learn how to. I don't know how I said it. Rewind it.
You said it.
However I said it. That's the Holy Spirit, man. I just go.
However you said it was dope, because the
process of processing. There it is.
There we go. The process of processing, and it's two standpoints to it. Two components to it in my eyes. The process of processing. The one side of it, it's like, yeah, that's a state in which we need to become comfortable with, because we're going to always grow, and we're going to always need to be mindful of certain things that are around us, or certain things that we're doing, so we can grow. But we could be processing things. On the other end, we could be processing things for a very long time. And like you were alluding to, those individuals who are severely depressed, they're stuck. They're just staying. They're stuck in solitude. They're isolating. They're staying in their room. They're watching Netflix all the time. And the one thing that I tell all of my patients who are extremely depressed is they need to just get up and go. Like, I don't care what you do. Go do something. If you just going to the store and getting some bread to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, I don't give a damn. Just get out the house. Right? Get up and move. Because the one thing that we need to be mindful of when we're reflecting is we don't get stuck within those reflections. Because some of the reflections are going to cause certain wounds to open up, and certain mistakes and things to kind of make us angry again. But understand that that's a part of the process that we're speaking about. That's a part of the growth. That's a part of, becoming the best man that you are, or becoming the best woman that you can be, right? Becoming that best person. And if you're not willing to really go through that process, it's going to be tough. The thing in it, and this is the question I'm going to give to you, is, do you think you're ever going to be able to, be done with the process?
That's a tough question. Because in my, let me think about that. Let me download something from heaven. I think there are certain stages that we go through. So I believe that everybody's in a constant state of process. If you're living, you processing. Now you can be alive. In depression, you're alive, but you're not living. Like you said, get up and go. But I think if you're genuinely being intentional about getting up and going, or getting up and starting, it's constant. Because I look at relationships, and I learned this from being in the play Love, or just listening to the feedback that people are getting. Everybody got conditions. People say love unconditional and things like that, but everybody got conditions, man. He said, everybody got conditions.
Everybody has an agenda.
Everybody got conditions. I can love you, but it's only so much that I can take, right? But like, you look at somebody, they've been married for 75 years or 60 years. You be like, man, I know they not just getting along still now. But I talk to older couples, they're at this space now where it's like if it sound real cute and it sound real notebookish, I just found a new reason to love her or love him. I found a way to keep going, because people change, man. People change. Even you're not the same person you was last year.
Yeah, for real.
Those are facts. Like you don't speak the same way. You listen differently. You talking about different things. Your conversation is changing. People change, and sometimes that can be for the good. Sometimes that can be for the bad. So I feel like if you're constantly processing these different things, like it's like a supercomputer. I'm just scanning the room. Like you seen Equalizer, he scanned the room to saw which different ways he can come at you. Do coming this way, do that coming that way. That's life. That's life. You have to take the time to process, okay, this is what's going on. How can I do this? So I was working out. It could be something as small as, okay, I was working out. I was going to the gym. But it wasn't really helping me. But then I started running the beach, and that felt better. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's you're constantly trying to adapt to something different. Okay, I was reading books at home. I wasn't really feeling it. I just started going to Barnes and Nobles. That atmosphere.
It's the atmosphere.
It's the atmosphere, the environment. Okay, I eat a certain way this time. It could be something like you was fasting.
Yeah.
Your life changed. You was on fast for 40 days?
Nah, I was fasting for 5 days.
No, you fasted for longer than that, man.
Nah, I fasted for 5 days. I was at the gym for 90 days.
Oh, you went to the gym for 90 days, every day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. But even that.
40 days, I'd be fucking twig right now, boy.
But how do you feel even going to the gym 90 days straight? That's I don't even know.
But it's what you're talking about in terms of adapting your environment in order to make certain things easy, right? For me, what I've realized when it comes to that process of going to the gym, it wasn't the fact that I couldn't go to the gym every single day. It was the fact that I had to. The excuses that I was giving myself to not want to go to the gym, I would have to put myself in a position to where those excuses wouldn't kind of work, right? So a clear excuse for me was, okay, I can't go to the gym every day, or I can't go to the gym directly after work.
Okay. Because,
one, it's crowded. I don't like being in a crowded gym. Okay, I just had to learn how to be more mindful of my workout, right? And focus on that. Okay, cool. 2, I have to go home and change, right? You go home and change, you sit on that bed, it's over. You're not getting out. So I'm about to pack my clothes. I'm about to put them literally in my front seat, right? So every time I look at those clothes, it's a reminder of where I need to go, right? So in terms of that, and in terms of what you were speaking about, like for me, like I study a lot, right? But I can't study at home. I will be asleep. I have to study in some type of study-like environment. I have to study at Coffee Bean. I have to study at the library. I have to study in these sorts of areas to where I can fully focus, right? So when it comes to a lot of those things, and I guess going back to the question I asked you earlier, I don't believe the whole aspect of processing ever really stops, because it's like what you're saying. You're forever growing, right? And being that you're forever growing, you're forever going to have to be in a state of processing, because if you're not, you're just going to be going with the flow. Going with the flow is a good thing. Like me, I live by that. Just go with the flow. My girl hates that. Like, I don't like asking questions. I'm not trying to like figure out what it is. Just this is where I'm going. Okay, cool. Anything that comes with it, I'm gonna accept it. However, when we begin to just let life pass us by, so we can't allow life to pass us by. We have to be able to go with life. And if we're not going with life and just allowing life to pass us by, there's a lot of things in life that we are going to miss, whether it's experiences, moments, lessons to be learned, friends, relationships, the good and bad consequences that come in our life if we're not going with life, and if we just allow life to pass us by.
I think what has helped me was self-reflecting. And I know we've had this conversation about the church and things like that, but like my relationship with God has really it helped me, because now I'm depending on my faith in a different level now. I'm realizing that I was never in control in the first, if that's what you believe. Now, if people don't believe certain things, that's fine, that's cool. But I believe that he's covered me in such a way to now he's given me the opportunity to process. Because a lot of people have been through similar situations and dead, gone, in a mental institution, taking pills for their depression. I don't have any of those issues. I do have some serious issues. I was thinking about it today. I find myself a little snappy on my oldest son. My patience is a little thin for him. Now, of course, he's 10 and he's going through that. I'm getting ready to become a preteen, but I still got 8-year-old, 9-year-old ways. It's like it drives me nuts. He just drives me nuts. But I'm now looking at, reflecting on how I can deal with him a little bit better. Because the fact of the matter is, self-reflection, I've caused my own children trauma.
Yeah.
I've caused my own kids to have PTSD for the stuff that I've done. Mm-hmm. And so I just thank God, because I'm like, man, God, I really don't deserve that much grace. I really don't deserve that much mercy. And you're still keeping my kids, because even if I fuss at them, Dad, I love you. Even if I get on my Dad, I'll see you when you come back. Are you going to talk on the show? Well, now my 3-year-old, she gives me a hard time, but she's 3. But I say that to say, man, I just owe it to God, because I'm now in a space where I'm able to learn, to process. Now, I've realized, and you can, I think everybody in this room can attest to this, we use process in the same way as going to get the bag, or chasing your dream, or being successful and things like that. But we don't have that same tenacity to self-reflect. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go through you got to chase the dream, you got to get the bag, you got to do all these different things. It's a process, it's a grind and all that. But we don't do that same stuff about our self-worth or that same tenacity.
The reason why we don't do that is because it's going to cause us to stop. you can't really self-reflect if you're always on the move.
Ooh.
You can't self-reflect if you're always on the move. So self-reflecting is a process of being mindful. Self-reflecting is a process of being present. Mm-hmm. And we all, myself, you, everyone in this room, being present is something that we struggle with day to day.
I think that's the millennial issue. Because right? But then when it's time, like I think that we should prevent from them getting to you, people like you. Now, of course, we want people who are severely, but there are steps that you can take to prevent you from getting to meeting you and having to have what's the word? What you got? A form filled out or whatever it's called, an intake form or whatever the case may be. There's things you can do to not get to that point, because sometimes you need to slow down and just self-reflect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to just sit back and say, okay, whether you believe, I believe in God. All right, God, is this what you want me to do? Is this the will for my life? If this is where you want me to go, should I pray about this now? How do you want me to be better? How, I'm constantly trying to be better. Now, of course, I live by a faith-based system, but if I didn't, God forbid, but if I didn't, I still want to be the best, the better me that I can be. Not the best, but the better me. Yeah. I want to be a better Akila from who I was from yesterday was Saturday, but even let's just go back from Thanksgiving till now. Yeah. Because I made some mistakes between now and then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I've fallen short between now and then, and there's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. All the greats say they always practice. They never stop. But the greats practiced 3 hours before real practice started, and they practiced another 3 hours after practice was over. Yeah. Because it's a constant trying to be a better you than you was before, you know? And I think what we do, the insecurities that we have as a people period, human beings period, I think that what we do is we're afraid to just be. Yeah. I was watching Queen of Slim the other day.
I like that movie.
It was cool. It was intense. Like I think people hyped it up because they wanted a glamour. You know,
they thought it was gonna be like some.
Yeah, this ain't no Bonnie and Clyde. Like this is. It was impactful, but then I like certain small nuggets, like when he was like, "Why black people always gotta be excellent?"
Yeah, for real.
We just can't be.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, that's called trauma, because every single, or even when you say, "Oh, that little wedding," or that little podcast, people get defensive. People get because either we have to prove ourselves that we're better than what we are, or we have to prove ourselves that we're not low as we can possibly be. We just never can be. Yeah. You can't never just be alive. Especially African Americans or blacks in general. Blacks and browns, we always have to put different adjectives on how to be a better you. Like, I just can't be human. Mm-hmm. I just can't be Akila. I can't just be Akila. I'm just Akila. I'm a regular person. And that causes different things, traumatic experiences. And I'm watching the movie and I'm like, man, I'm watching as they go along. If you haven't seen the movie, forgive me, but every day they were trying to be better than they was.
Yeah, for real.
You get what I'm saying? Even in their relationship, I'm like, man, and they're on the run for their lives, but they just was trying to be like, how we gonna eat today? How can we eat another day? How can we keep that? You get what I'm saying? And so I just feel, I'm glad we both agree. And I think more of this needs to be happening. Like, I want to self-reflect, but I need to get into a place where I can self-reflect and somebody gonna tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to say, okay, I see that point, but then what about this area? Because we can't do this by ourselves, man. Nobody has the blueprint to live in life. Yeah. And even me, I believe in God, love Jesus Christ with all my heart, whether you want to call him Yahshua or not. I don't speak fluent Hebrew, but I love Jesus. Yeah. And I love the church. Some things I don't like, some things, but that's what work in school. Exactly. You get what I'm saying? But I can honestly say that I need God, I need Jesus, and sometimes I need a therapist. And it might not be me going and sitting on some couch. It might be me just calling my boy.
Yeah.
And the thing that this is how you know you're getting better. Hey, Willis, I need to talk to you. Watch this. Are you in a space for me to just talk to you? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what you're going through.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you a therapist,
don't
bro.
Just invite
you into my mess. Yep. And then you gotta ask me the question. You gotta say, so are you just venting, or you want my advice? Exactly. Those are two different things. Mm-hmm. If you vent, I'm gonna let you get it all out. But we have to not be afraid to get that self-reflection, because honestly, my dad always tell me, I love him to death when he tell me this. He says, love yourself, or he calls me he says Akila Senior. And that's just our hidden love language to know that I am you and you are me. And I say the same thing with you, bro. We are the same. I look at you, I see another black man. You look at me, you see another black man. Exactly. So when I see you, I see myself. So I'm like, bro, yo, are you, you already know what I'm about to say, whether somebody died or whatever, and I'm going to ask you, are you able to listen right now? And I'm going to tell you, I'm just venting. I don't need your advice. I just need to let this out. But if I do say I need your advice, I have to be willing for that self-reflection. I have to be willing for you to tell me something that I don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And then when me and you get off the phone, I have to really say, dang, he was right.
Let me sit with the conversation.
Let me sit with the conversation for a minute. So I think it's a constant self-reflection. Is hard, man, because it's constantly evolving. It's constantly evolving, whether I'm calling, whether I'm sending a text message, whether I'm sending an email.
And it's an easy thing to forget to do.
Yeah.
It's a very, very easy thing to forget to do. And a lot of the times when we kind of get so caught up in our accomplishments, we begin to believe, like, you know, we're on top of the world. We got things, you know, in order. I got everything intact. I don't really need the help or the advice at the moment or whatever the case may be. And sometimes we only get to that self-reflection part when we feel like it's needed, right? Whether it's we're going through a change in our life, or, you know, we reflect at certain milestones, at certain check marks. We reflect on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We reflect on our birthday, the year. We reflect the New Year's. We reflect certain things. But we need to begin to put these certain self-reflection dates or moments kind of on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis, right? So that way we can learn how to create a habit out of it. Mm-hmm. So that way we don't wake up one day and then a mountain is on top of us. Because a lot of the times when we're not being mindful of the process that we're in, things just start to pile up.
You don't even know.
Exactly.
That happened to me though. Yeah. Like, I think that was the hardest thing for me, because I never processed.
Yeah.
And then now when I started to process, I felt like a whole bunch of stuff just came on me at once, and it was all the wrong time. But imagine if I developed a habitual habit to check in or to process.
All it is.
That's all it is. Like, okay, and that's your day. Okay, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. Let's talk, Keela. What can I do better? And if you do that, when major stuff happen, we'll be able to adapt. We'll be able to not let it destroy us, to where somebody now has to pick you back up. Mm-hmm. I gotta pull you out of your mess. It's a preacher thing. Yeah. God is gonna pull you out of, but God is already giving you the tools needed to not even get to that point. This is why prayer is important. This is why reading is important. This is why, you have a thing with going to church, but the word says, do not forsake the assembly of the brethren. I come so I can see you.
Exactly.
Now, whether you want to come to a building with a cross, that's fine, but like we have in church now. We intentional about it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like this is good for me. When you text me, I'm like, bro, I'm there.
Yeah. And I appreciate
it. And I was in church, and I didn't hollered, and I did the whole shenanigans and things like that and serve God. But I still felt like something was missing, because I literally just had my first Thanksgiving without my granny, and like
you gotta sit with it.
You gotta sit with it, man. Then I got Christmas next month, so it's like, dang.
You gotta sit with it. You gotta sit.
Then the New Year coming. Then I gotta start counting down for the 1 year anniversary.
And then that's but it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing. At times gives us the ability to forget about it. It gives us the ability for certain things or certain problems to kind of not be as painful.
Yeah.
You know, but when it comes to just reflecting on those things, it gives us the ability to. It's a step closer to the acceptance of it, I believe.
How do you, and I'm going to ask this, how do you self-reflect? I know you probably going to ask the same question to me, so how do you do it? Like, what is your thing?
I mean, for me, I like to start with the negative things.
Okay. The negative first.
The reason why I like to start with negative things is start to kind of go back on the things that I did wrong.
Okay.
Whether it's and for me, it's with people. For me, I really, really try to make it my best to either let people know how much, I care for them, or I try to make it my best to be as, good as a friend within that relationship. Mm-hmm. Or if I don't fuck with you, I make it a point to let you know that I don't fuck with you. It's kind of weird.
Protecting yourself.
Yeah, right. Because I don't want the middle man thing or whatever the case may be. Now, if you're just someone off on the other end, and it's not really like, if you're not really like important in my life like that, I don't really put too much energy towards it. So when it comes to reflecting, I reflect on my involvement with people first, and I reflect on the negative things that I've done with certain people, because what I've noticed is a lot of the negative things and a lot of the negative relationships that I've had with people, I've had those things because I didn't allow myself to I didn't allow myself to fully be a part of that actual moment. I was just kind of going with the flow. I was allowing myself to be okay with being angry. I was allowing myself to be okay with being mad. I was allowing myself to be okay with being petty. And once I began to notice that my relationships, my negative relationships that I've had, right? The negative things that I've done within relationships. There are certain things that people have done to me negative, and I don't really pay those no mind.
Right.
Because I don't have control over. But the negative things that I've done in relationships, I'm mindful. I make it a point to fully understand at what point that I lose control of my ability of being mindful in this.
Ooh.
Because once we lose that ability of being mindful, then things just go. And when things just go, they're not going according to who we are as a person. They're not going according to your own characteristics or, your standards or the principles or the things that you stand on. And for me, when it comes to, being able to process or self-reflect, I have to start there.
This the preacher gonna come out of me. When you said be mindful, I immediately thought of a construction zone. And whenever something's getting built, we're always under construction. We're always in process of being better than where we once was. But when you said that, being mindful, whenever there's a construction zone, there's a fence around it, there's a gate to come in it, and you have to wear a certain attire when you're in a construction zone. And one of the most major signs you see in construction zones, it says, be cautious or danger, construction taking place. Be aware of your surroundings because of things that can fall off or, you can get injured. But that's not for the building.
That's for your ass.
That's not even for the person working the building. That's for the other people. I have to be mindful of what's happening around me because I'm under construction.
Yeah.
So now that's deep, right? So I now have to be, because though I am under construction, I'm in process, I'm not on this earth by myself.
Exactly.
So where you say you kind of just go with the flow and and you just, you start with the negative, that's always hard for me because it's like you starting with the major bulk of the stuff.
Let's knock that out.
Knock it out easy.
Yeah.
Because the positive, you're going to be like, all right, cool,
exactly.
All right, cool. I think for me, I've been very passive my entire life. Now, I'm very expressive. If you know me, I express myself but I'm very passive about deep-rooted stuff because I never learned how to process these things.
Yeah.
Nobody never, told me nobody expressed to me how to explain myself in that level. I'll just either fuss or I have the Jody complex, the Jody from Baby Boy complex. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I'm leaving. I'm walking out the door, or I feel like I know everything, so you can't tell me nothing. So I think with me now at this point in my life at 28, and all the things that I have going on, I have to be mindful, not even just of my children, but just how I have to pay attention to what's going on, what I'm doing. Like I'll get into a trance. So I'll be cleaning the house and I'm doing a fake process. I'm acting like I'm getting it together.
Yeah.
I'm acting like I'm doing something to keep me in this routine, habitual habit. I'm cleaning toilets, I'm vacuuming. I'm lying to myself. Instead of just taking the time to sit and say, Akila, yeah, you're going to have to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm always on the move. I always... And so now I'm finding spaces for me.
Yeah.
I remember my mom as a kid, I used to always laugh at her, but I remember as a kid, I used to hear her talking to herself in the shower. I'd be like, Mom, what's going on? I think this before she was saved, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I'm thinking she crazy. But I realized she was preparing herself for the day.
Yeah. That's her little exercise.
She got to do a self-check-in.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't do this every day. She do it every once in a while. So now I'm like, oh, so that I remember stuff like that. My dad goes to the gym a lot. That might be his self-reflection, but you have to be mindful of.
She's up.
She's up. Come here, Miss Roden. Come on. My 3-year-old just woke up. Say hi, Mara. Say hi. You're not gonna say hi? Okay. Candy Camera, you gonna say hi for Daddy? Say hi. Say hi. What's your name? What's your name? Say it. Say it in the mic. What's your name? What's your name? Amara what? What's your last name? How old are you? 3. When's your birthday? April 11. Okay, I'll leave you alone. You want my phone over there? Say hi to the camera, Mar. Say hi.
Welcome to here in the studio. But moving on forward, right? Moving on forward to the question that popped up in my head as I was talking. And I want you to do your best to try to answer this in one sentence.
Okay.
Do your best to try to answer this in one sentence. And I'm gonna go first, so give you time to try to answer it.
Okay.
I typed it out.
He typed it.
What's one thing that you've learned from the process of reflecting? So, one thing that you've learned from the process of reflecting. So, for me, the one thing that I've learned from the process of reflecting is that, the one thing that I've learned from the process of reflecting is that it's best to reflect as much as possible so I don't have to reflect on so many things. It's best to reflect as much as possible so I don't have to reflect on so many things, because sometimes reflecting can be very, very draining. Mm-hmm. For me, at least, because I start with that negative, so it can be very, very draining. What about you?
I think the thing with me with self-reflection is I have to be prepared that it's going to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because, sorry. I have to be prepared that it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's not going to be a cakewalk. Yeah. It's a process, and it's not going to be something that's just going to be done. So I think with self-reflection, I have to really tell myself, hey, this is going to be one of those days. Mm-hmm. So be prepared. Yeah. Be prepared.
And that's why it's important to reflect as much as possible. Well, not just at the typical Thanksgivings and birthdays and New Year's. Reflect as much as possible. So those days don't become days. They become moments.
Man, that's deep.
Moments. As always, man, good looking, Keela, for coming through, boss.
Man, I appreciate it. Mar, you good? You good? Or you still sleepy?
She's still sleepy.
Okay. Man, I appreciate Hey, Willis, bro. And I always tell you this, and I'm going to tell you again, man. What you've doing, I don't see a lot of 28-year-olds doing it. Or soon to be 28 doing it, especially with mental health. I'm so glad you went to school. I'm so glad you followed your passion, followed your dream, man. I pray that everything that you're learning and continue growing, you and your lady, make sure you let me know if he applying some of this stuff. Hey, all right, cool, hey, man. But, man, I just want to tell you, bro, I love you. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you,
and for the last year, you have helped me become a better me.
Thank you, brother.
As simple as this is having a conversation and getting a perspective. And so I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, man. And anytime you need me, I appreciate the calls. I appreciate the coming on. What you're doing is changing people's lives. Whether they post it or not, you changed my life.
Thank you, brother.
Changing my life, because I'm continually going forth. So I appreciate you, man. And I thank God. I know me being in ministry, being a preacher, being a dad, you never hold those things on me. I'm just Keela. Yeah. And that's why I love coming, man. I just love being Keela. Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you that, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't forget, what day?
February 15th. 2020, West Angeles Performing Arts Theater.
And that's a real good, it's really, really, really
a really, really good play. Really, so if you have not got your tickets, get your tickets right now. They are 50% off. The link is in my Instagram bio, Preach Keela, the number 2G, Preach, the number 2G. The link is in my bio. Sam Severn Productions, Leon Anderson's LOVE Love, the absolute last sold out LA show in Los Angeles next 2 months from now, February 15th, 2020, Valentine's Day weekend. Get your tickets right now.
There you go. There you go.
He saw the show, and he can tell y'all it was crazy. He loved it.
I could attest. It's really, really dope.
For sure. Gino, I see you, boy.
Yes. As always. Good looking to all those individuals who are listening and tuning in. Shout out to those people who want to listen today, tomorrow, next week, next month, whenever. And as always, always understand, never forget. Ain't no wealth without your mental health, man. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.
For sure.